And we are go and great. And now we are go ahead and welcome everyone. This is the Place of Bones post screening virtual screening Q&A with Corin Nemec and Brielle Robillard. Hopefully I said that correctly, Brielle. If correct me if I'm wrong. Great, awesome. American Gonzalez, I'm with the Avenue. Today I will not be showing my face because we have these beautiful faces to show. And so let's go. Let's talk about the movie itself and the film first. Why don't you guys, if people haven't seen the movie, explain it in a few words. Corin, if you wouldn't mind starting, then Brielle, you can maybe interject with your own thoughts.
Again, I just got to go to that comparison. It's like Misery meets Hateful Eight and Sixth Sense. You know what I mean? It's a wonderful blend of genres that I believe personally is done so artfully by Richard Taylor, the writer, that he threads the needle in such a way that when I read the script, you would think that something would give it away when reading the script. And when I got to that page, it was a great experience as an artist and as an actor and all of that, to read something that really, really was shocking. So I enjoyed it, and I think that they knocked it out of the park. And Brielle, I mean, what a performance playing Hester. I mean, any character named Hester, that's going to be a tough one to bring to life as it is. Just the name alone is difficult to perform.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a blast filming. And I think if I had to sum it up in a few words, it would just be like an exciting thriller Western with an incredible twist that I don't think anyone can predict. And it has all the elements of something that just grabs your attention right away while having the depth of characters and a really fascinating story and a heroine who I don't think we've seen a lot in Western movies, and Heather Graham kills it on that front. And then Corin brings like this level of, cowboy depth to the film. And it's just, I mean, it came together awesomely and it was a blast filming. So.
Yeah, Calhoun, he might be able to ride a horse, but would he really pass the cowboy smell test? He might pass the smell test of the cowboy, but there's something about him that seems to be fraudulent.
Yes. I would even say maybe that's quintessential cowboy, the fraudulent aspect of Calhoun. You never know what he's doing next. And I think that makes the main character, Pandora, Heather Graham, so nervous the whole time because you just don't know if he's lying or not the entire movie. Even when Corin was playing it across me, I was like, is this the truth? Am I figuring this out right? Or am I being told a cold-faced lie? So yeah, it's a really fun watch.
Yeah, I think too that it's one of those I read, and I can't remember which review it was, but it was a fantastic review, and they said that it's a necessity to watch it twice, and because they enjoyed it for different reasons as it progressed, and when they got to the aha moment, they were so blown away that they're now looking forward to rewatching it so they can pick out those Easter eggs that they were suddenly like, that's what was you know what I mean? Because there's several of them that if you're astute, you'll really enjoy going back and watching it a second time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Brielle, you have so many cool little looks that I noticed rewatching the movie with all the inside looks that come in the reveal that you only see it when you watch the movie for a second time. This is a movie you got to see 2 or 3 times to catch all those things. But I never realized how many times you did that and all the little subtext you had going.
Well, it's such a testament to Audrey, our director, because she took such care and time in talking through the characters with us. And we would be up, until the middle of the night in our hotel lobby going over like, what's my intention here? And how should I phrase this? And how do we make it obvious while creating that kind of suspenseful element for the aha moment? And it's not often you have a director that takes such time. And that was, we're so lucky to be able to work with her and incorporate those elements.
Yeah,
That's great. Nina Yasmin on YouTube is asking, how was your experience meeting the whole cast and everyone? So could you guys maybe talk about like the moment you guys first met each other, even like the both of you, or just like the cast itself?
Well, as David Lipper informed me of the various cast members, I had not had the pleasure of knowing Brielle's previous work, which is actually even better because she was so wonderfully refreshing, not only on set in her demeanor and her professionalism, but but the playing the innocence of this character in such a way. I was actually in another interview I did. I said that I think that Hester has the biggest character arc of all of the characters in the whole film. From everything that she has to go through from the beginning to the end, and that's a great opportunity for a young actress, especially, to get an opportunity to have such a really, really wonderfully written role and get to perform in a scenario that, without that twist at the end, that is, I think, is so necessary for this movie. Without that twist in the end, it would still be a wonderful Wild West tale of survival.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, yeah, 100%. And Hester and Calhoun, they're such incredible characters to play, and they have so much fun with their character all the time. And Hester does. I love her arc. It's so cool to see someone where you suspect her to be so innocent and kind of naive about the world, and then take the world by horns. Like, it's a coming of age story in that sense, more than anything for her, which is always fun to play. And as an actor, you can't ask for anything better, really. And then meeting everyone was so fun. I was really familiar with everyone. Like, I've seen Heather Graham's films, and she's a big movie star, and Corin's a big movie star, and it was so exciting coming to set and meeting them. And I was a big fan of everyone before filming, so it was like so cool to hang out with everyone behind the scenes. And I remember meeting Cowboy for the first time. He came down in the hotel lobby, and Audrey was like, "Do you want to get a burger with Cowboy Cerrone?" And I'm like, I don't think I can say no to that ever in my life. So it was just a whirlwind time, and filming was a blast with all of them. And Tom Hopper was incredible. I mean, he is like the nicest, most gentlemanly, hilarious man when you meet him. And then when he was playing Bear John, it was like, a mask came on, and it was deeply scary to watch him play because he's so good. And I learned so much on this shoot, more than anything, from all the pros. So it was just a lucky break for sure.
That's awesome.
Brielle, where did you go with the sexual tension for having a guy in the house, as a young girl who's coming into womanhood? How did Audrey go over that with you, and where did that all play in the film?
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible question, because it's a really interesting part of the movie where I think audiences will only realize maybe on the second time watching. But for Hester and Pandora, Heather Graham and I in the movie, that's my first time seeing a man other than my father in the movie, who died years ago, right? So there's this element of like, oh, why is she like staring at him? And she's, pinning him down. It's this really intense scene. And I think watching, you have some questions pop up, but by the end, audiences will realize, oh, that's the first man she's really ever seen. So that was really interesting. Like, we went over that a lot. And Corin and I worked with, an intimacy coordinator with that scene as well. And it was definitely, it's a really unique situation to put a character in. And that was really fun to play with. So it was a sense of wonder. It was a sense of excitement. It was also a sense of, trepidation and danger in the moment. Yeah, great question.
Awesome. So, Corin, we have a question from X that we've posted. It's been said that Westerns are the only uniquely American film genre. While they're perhaps immensely popular at present, it takes all it takes is one solid effort, like Clint Eastwood's for Unforgiven or Kevin Costner's Dances with Wolves, to inspire a trend, and we get a whole new slate of them to consider. What do you think accounts for the Western's enduring popularity with audiences around the world? This is by E. Lee Zimmerman on X.
Zimmerman, Bob Dylan's real last name. Are you related? I got to tell you, the time period of the Wild West was really roughly, around a 20-year period. It wasn't really that long, 15, 20 years. And in that 10 years, especially right after the Civil War, it was all hands on deck to go into those Western territories. and you had a lot of rough trade out there, because you had a lot of guys that were leaving. They were running away from the fall of the Confederacy, and they were ex-military there. And then you also had a lot of guys that were running away from the military after the war in the North too. So you had a real mashup out west of all different kinds of people, and a lot of tension at times while they were trying to, so-called civilize the West. But so I think that it's because that time period was such a time period of change for our nation too, with the trains, the introduction of all the trains and all the mining, all the gold that was being discovered, and silver being discovered, like in Tombstone. And so there's just a fascination with it that is unparalleled. And this thinking is kind of like when you think of the Middle Ages and stories of Robin Hood or whatever, holding up the stagecoach with bows and arrows, but it's 6-shooters and sawbusters,
I see a
Did we
question.
freeze?
I see a question here. What was the most challenging aspect of filming the movie? I want to answer to that, because what these guys went through with the weather, I can't stress this enough. Because of Heather and Tom's schedules, Tom shooting The Umbrella Academy and Heather, back-to-back movies, we had to shoot December, and our hope was to kind of get it shot out before Christmas. But it was raining like every other day, and so we would get like a day, maybe 2 days, and then we'd have to shut down for 2 days. And so luckily we had a good arrangement at the ranch we shot at, money-wise. But actor-wise, this cast had to regroup and come back, and God, cars were getting stuck in the mud. We couldn't even get there at certain points. So there was a challenge, and I know Heather talked a lot about how cold it was. So I'm sure you can identify with that. I was running to Walmart grabbing like gallons of Hot Pockets for everybody because it was cold. It got cold at night. LA, December, January, in the mountains at night.
In the high desert, yeah.
Yeah, with all that rain, it got cold. And, Denise, our co-producer, and I were out there tying tarps on the sets because they were leaking. I mean, it was crazy. It was the real Wild West in terms of weather conditions. So I'll just tell you from the producer side, it was a challenge. But I'd love to hear from the actors, both Corin and Brielle. What was that like for you guys bracing through the weather?
My gosh, the weather was our greatest enemy on this one. I mean, I remember Heather and I were ordering thermals on Amazon, like on set. We're like, we need these, not today, tomorrow, 5 seconds from now even. So the weather was challenging for sure. And then the most rewarding part was, Corin, Heather, and I have some scenes that are so playful and so fun, and really kind of like back-to-back dialogue. And you have to shift from moment to moment, and playing with two people that are so good at their job was incredible. And that was definitely the most rewarding. When we got those beats and we had the flow, and Corin had his incredible speech talking about all the villains in the movie, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, for me, the weather.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, the weather for me, I don't remember it as much as detailed. I've had to work in worse conditions, so it wasn't too awful for me. Also, I was bedridden, so once I would get nestled in there with a couple extra blankies on and stuff, I could get a nice little thermal heat cocoon going. And when it was raining, I have a photo my wife took of me on set. It's like I'm all curled up in that bed, and I have an umbrella over me inside because the water was leaking through the roof.
Yeah.
So we got a comment from. It looks like. Hold on, sorry. I'm trying to. Loved the movie. I was so surprised by the end of the twist. Kudos to you all. So good job, guys. I mean, it's hard to do it all and then keep people still not able to tell anyone about the ending. So, that's little fun right there with the ending. We're not going to give anything away. So you're going to have to watch the movie if you haven't already. And then we have another one, the twist in the movie. When you first read the script, what was the reaction of it without, obviously giving away what the twist is? How did you guys feel about it? And we don't have to talk about it if you think it's going to give too much away.
For me, real quick, that was I was already completely sold on the script anyway. I think I've mentioned it a number of times because of just how wonderfully written it was. Richard Taylor just did an exceptional job, and as an actor, it was probably the most fun I've had in my career, getting to play a character. So kudos to him for that. And but I forgot what the question was.
Exactly.
What did you think of the ending? Like when you read the script.
Oh, the ending. That's right.
What was the reaction?
Oh, yeah. So when I got to it, I was already sold. And when I got to that, I was not. He didn't even give it away in the scripted version. And when I got to it, I was caught completely off guard, and that's when I realized that this was a different kind of movie. It had a different life of its own, and it's one of those. It has such an abrupt, shocking ending and wrap up that it leaves you like disturbed. And I think that being the case, that it's going to play very well over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely one that once you get to the ending, you're like, what? And then you have to rewatch it all over again to see what nuances were introduced throughout the film. So it's definitely there for a rewatch. We definitely suggest to go buy it and not rent it, which you can do right now. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And so we're going to keep going on.
No, I think that's a great point you bring up, Eric, which is you've got to watch this movie 2 or 3 times, especially to see the stuff Brielle does. I can't stress it enough, like how many little looks and inside jokes almost are happening that you'll be in on once you've seen the movie. It was so much more enjoyable. I mean, I've seen it like 100 times because I went through the edit with Audrey, but but catching all those little things, I'm telling you, you got to watch this many times. And how did it catch you, Brielle, when you read it?
I mean, yeah, my jaw was on the floor. Again, with Corin, like I loved the script from the moment I read it, because it's not that often that you find 3 like fascinating and complex characters all interacting in this really jumbled way that was so interesting. Like it's all these, characters you'd never find next to each other. So it got me from the beginning, but the ending leaves a sense of terror and like disturbance to the characters and to the way you want to perform it, because truly, I won't give it away, but trust is like almost completely broken among every character in the movie, and you really never know who the good guy who the bad guy is. And so as an actor, it's not often you not only get that really complex and fun arc, especially in like a female character written by Richard Taylor. I mean, it's so fun to play that arc, and then also to add the nuances of trying to play to the twist but not giving it away. It was awesome. And yep, I was shocked as any. Couldn't have predicted for the life of me.
And I'll tell you, having seen it on the big screen with several audiences, including in San Francisco at Another Hole in the Head, the film festival that we won, the audience gasped, and I mean, you could feel it in the room. So it was a genuine reaction where people were blown away. And as a filmmaker, when you see that reaction, then you're like, okay, we got him. This worked. So seeing it in front of a live audience that weren't people that are friends or family, or just regular going moviegoers, and to seeing that reaction, and we had the same experience, Eric, at the Collider screening in LA. I think the audience
clapped at the end. They were just
blown away
by that ending. People just were not expecting it. Yeah.
And by the way, a little inside trivia for you: we shot the ending 2 ways, just so you know. A bit of a fight on set where the writer wanted to keep the integrity of the original script, and Audrey wanted to make sure she had a backup, and so we did shoot 2 endings, but stuck with the one we all loved, and thank God, And I told Richard, I said, we're keeping the integrity of the script. Don't worry.
It's a hard topic ending, but when you watch it, it's worth it, all of it, to have that at the end. So I'm glad you guys kept it.
Yeah.
We have a comment that I think it's even better on the big screen. So for those of you that are in the limited screen theaters that we are this weekend, thank you so much for going and watch it. We really appreciate the support. So if you're there and you haven't watched it, please, by all means, go see it in theaters. Independent theater needs as much support in theaters as possible. And we're out there as far as we can get. But fortunately, we're also out on digital, so everyone can see it too. So, and
leave a good review if you like the movie, please.
Yes. Rotten Tomatoes. It's always helpful to have that. David,
yeah, absolutely. IMDb as well is a big one.
Well, that too, yes. Reviews are super helpful in today's day and age. We all have a little look, see before we go see a movie. So, what inspired you to produce Place of Bones? I know we talked about it earlier on, but I think those people watching maybe haven't heard that.
Well, look, when I started Latigo Films with my partner Bobby Daly, we said we were going to make movies we wanted to make, scripts we liked, and we weren't going to be, as independent film guys, we weren't going to be swayed by thinking of what the studio wants or what the network wants. Let's just make what we want to make, and hopefully it's something different, something a little more risque that maybe not everybody wants to tackle. And it's just, you don't see these scripts every day. We see the same old. We get 20 scripts a week probably submitted to us. We have a team of readers going through them. We've made 15 movies in 2.5 years, but that's probably out of 150 scripts that were submitted. So when a script like this pops up, and you've been hearing it from Brielle and from Corin, it's just a really well-written script, and my hat off to Richard Taylor, who just did a bang-up job on this. And then it's our job to package it, and we talked about this earlier, but we really didn't care. Brielle, I was joking that I had to fly you in from Montreal when, God, why can't I find an actress in LA? But you were the perfect daughter to Heather Graham. You just were perfectly cast for that. Corin was perfect in his role. Cowboy Cerrone was perfect as Wilson. Bear John, Tom Hopper crushed it. And of course, Heather Graham in the lead. So all these people contributed, and our job is to find a script that works and a package that works and put it all together. And that's what we did. But we got to bring up one person who really is also a major part of this, other than Audrey Cummings, the director. And that is the cinematographer, Andre Sekula. I'll never forget, we were shooting in the middle of nowhere, right, in this mountain with nothing. And he says to me, this guy, little guy from Poland, who, again, is the cinematographer behind Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and American Psycho. He says, David, we put 20K light in mountain. And I don't know if you know what a 20K light is, but just think of the biggest light you've ever seen and double it, right? It's this massive, giant light. And I said, Andre, are you crazy? How am I going to get a light up in the middle of the mountain here? I don't even know how to get it there. And he said, you're a producer. That's your problem. And we got a team of 20 guys with chips and axes and shovels, and plowed a path and got the light up there, and it saved us probably a week of lighting on a very tight schedule. So all those things have to come together to work, and I can't stress enough how great the cinematography is in this movie. These sweeping shots of the horses and the cowboys coming over the cliff. You can't shoot that in a studio. You have to have this location. The location is a major character in the film. And we decided to take a big hit financially and not go to a rebate state, really, and shoot in LA because we had to have this location. And you'll see it in the movie. It's really stunning.
Brielle,
I just want to talk about Andre for 1 second because he deserves a huge shout out. We did one day of all of Hester's running through the mountain scenes, and I'd be talking to Audrey, and for 5 seconds we'd be like, okay, character development, okay, da-da-da. And then I'd hear a distant voice from a mountain beyond going, Audrey, we film here. This is good spot. And he's already 1 kilometer up the hill. He was just the real deal. Spot. So he was a blast to work with, and he really put his heart into the movie. So the cinematography is top notch. And
this old guy was out there with his rubber boots in the rain and he couldn't stop him. He was the first guy and the last guy there. He awesome. And he's an old guy. So we all kind of looked at each other okay, if this old guy can be out there nonstop, we can keep going.
So can we. Yeah.
That's right.
So we have a comment, not so much a question, but a comment, which I think will lead me to my next question for Brielle. on Instagram, Dave Roseman 611. He says, through the whole film, I kept thinking that I was more scared of Pandora and Hester and not Bear John in the gang, which comes to your performance, Brielle, which I want to call sinisterly sweet. You have this picture to you where you are very much a country girl and very shy to the world, but yet this sinister demeanor in some of the faces you make, like that one scene where you're over Calhoun and you're looking in his eyes, and at first I was like, whoa, that's intense, but you have this like eyesight to him where you're just examining his face, and I now know because of the ending, but what is going through your head when you do a scene like that? Like,
yeah, it's a great question. And I appreciate the comment because, Heather and I really did try to play it with a little bit of intrigue, and it's funny, like Hester's such an awesome character because again, she has this innocence and this kind of like naivete about life, but truly she's outsmarting everyone with every move she's making, and she's such a bold person, and it's really cool to watch someone at that age. I'm playing 15, 16, already so sure of themselves and so bold, and just knowing that they want to get out of the situation they're in. And I feel like there's not a more for me, at least when I watch any movie, I love watching characters that are, craving something more than what they have. And that's Hester. And so that plays to multiple elements of the movie, but there's definitely this element of she takes on more than she can chew, for sure. Like throughout the movie, she just thinks she can do anything, even though in reality, the tasks are much harder. And so when she's, faced with a cowboy like Corin's character, Calhoun, she's just like, wow, like I feel empowered and excited by this rather than fear or these societally imposed feelings of I should be smaller or I should make room for this person. She's just out there and living her bold life and craving more than what her mom's giving her in the film. And that's a really cool place to play from.
Yeah, I think we see that a lot too in that one scene where you actually are with David in a scene where you enact upon him an act of violence. And I'm not going to go too into the description because people should go watch it. But that's the scene.
He hits
where
me
you're
in the head with a rock.
Okay, well,
tell people.
But this innocent girl has this like inner, thing inside of her that allows her to do that. No 15-year-old girl, I think, would even imagine that to protect herself, she would have to do that. Mm-hmm. And then you comport yourself so well afterwards, and you did such a good job to show that, this young lady, though might be naive to the world, has this sinister side.
Well, yeah, and her and Pandora are really living on a survival-based existence, which means that in one breath, she's, praying to the Lord, please forgive me, I'm so sorry. But in another breath, she's like, this guy's in my way, so I gotta go,
Yeah.
And doing that with David was so fun. I've never killed a before, so David was my first, and it was so fun to do.
I think I've been killed, by the way, in 15 movies. Not saying whether or not I got killed in this, but yes, you do a mean rock to the head movie. But it's in the trailer, by the way, so we're not giving anything.
That's true. Yes. We did give it away in the trailer.
Yeah. So that moment you see Brielle with two hands go. So yeah, she's a badass in this, Brielle. Both her and Heather. In fact, Heather kept saying that in her interview. She really liked being a badass. Did you have that same feeling, Brielle? As a woman, to have your teeth into a role like this where you could be a badass and kick some butt.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, I've never shot a fake walker in my life. It was a crazy experience, especially, at the end, I'm shooting a lot of people at the end of the film, and to take on all these big, scary dudes as Heather and I, it was pretty awesome.
I mean, that goes to the theme also for everyone. A lot of Westerns don't have a theme of where women are empowered. They're usually the ones who have to be protected or who have to be saved. And that's not the case in this one. The case in this one is you're doing the protection for yourselves. Yes, your mother is protecting you, but you yourself are protecting her as well by going to get the guns and just doing what you do. That's such a great way to look at a Western, and I love it personally. But how did you, when you read the script, how did you feel about that? And what was it like to read that?
Yeah, it's really cool. You know, we live in a world where you get sick of a lot of things, and it's cool to see two characters like Pandora and Hester. I mean, specifically Pandora, Heather Graham in the movie. She doesn't like civil society, so she just leaves and builds a ranch in the middle of nowhere and survives off of basically nothing. And I think, you know, a lot of us have had that instinct when the chaos of the world is going on, and it's cool to see some characters that actually follow through with it. And again, there's just this element of survival instincts that come with that, and this darkness to it. And then playing a character like Hester, who is so eager to get out and see the world. I mean, you can apply that to so many aspects of life, but this is just a really intense, extreme version of that. So it's fascinating. It's a fascinating character in the movie.
And by the way, you know, Richard, the writer, was on set for the whole movie, and in pre-production. And one of the things we made sure, we went through the guns. Now that Brielle brought it up, it was like, you know what, Richard was great because we worked together. We actually went out and got a whole range of guns on top of what the prop department brought in, because we wanted to make sure we had those authentic guns. And just for the people at home to know, what we do today, especially post-rust, is we take out the firing pins. We make sure that these weapons are unloaded. We don't even fire blanks. All of that's done in After Effects and visual effects. So some of the greatest innovation we've gotten in visual effects now is that's gotten actually really easy to do, is smoke out of the barrel, the gun hits, and the firing. So all of that we do today for safety's sake in After Effects, and I thought it looked great in the movie.
And our stunt team was, you know, top notch, and they were awesome to work with. So that made me feel so safe.
Brielle, walk us through that great moment that's also in the trailer when he smashes open the doors and you go flying backwards.
Oh my gosh! Well, I had a stunt double for that scene, which was so exciting. I have a video of a girl that looks exactly like me, falling on the floor and falling back. Yeah, it was so fun. I mean, that stuff is like, that's never happened. I've never had to do that before for a film, and getting like a knife to the throat in one of my scenes with Gatlin Griffiths. Shout out to him. He was awesome to work with and so fun and so good at his role, and a pro stuntman. Like, he knew how to do flips on a horse. He knew how to do everything. And so it was really cool to work with them. And it's nice to have that trust with somebody, you know, and Corin's character, you know, we have to build that trust on set, and we definitely did. And those scenes were intense. After I was like, heart beating, you have to get yourself out of it. But it was fun. It was a blast.
That's awesome. Corin, we have a question. It was, how does Place of Bones differ from any of your other projects you've worked on?
In a number of significant ways. I think mostly that a lot of the other projects that I've worked on are formulaic, you know, that they've been put through the studio or network system or written specifically for it. And it doesn't have, they even if they're well written in the formula, they're still the formula, you know, and you can't get around that. So you have a limited amount of time for character exploration, you know, and that kind of thing. But so what is that noise?
I think that's David typing.
Whoops.
Oh, sorry. It kept happening every time I talked. I was like, is that me? Is that my...
Hold on,
what's going on? I was like, did I swallow something? Yeah, let me get some more of the barbecue sauce in here.
The voice is in your head.
There we go.
Corin.
Now I'm good. But yeah, man.
Do you share any behind the scenes moments with the cast, or, you know, anything that's memorable that you'd like to share, both you and well, all of you, if you have a behind the scenes moment that you liked or want to remember? Or
I mean, when I met Corin, I found out he was a graffiti artist and super into music, and I thought, this might be the coolest person I've ever met in my entire life. So I think a lot of us bonded. We had a lot of spare time in between, especially with the weather considerations and stuff. So we had a lot of bonding time, which was awesome.
Yeah, I learned that about you as well, Corin, in your interview.
Sorry?
I learned that as well in your interview yesterday, that you were a graffiti artist first, and then you became an actor, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I still do my graffiti arts, you know, when I can, but it's my second greatest passion next to filmmaking, and I long to merge those two worlds together, you know, and do something that's exciting, and it takes place with that as the backdrop would be a lot of fun. But
We should make a
you know,
Place of Bones graffiti art T-shirt.
yeah, totally.
Great
man.
idea.
You know, but again, with Place of Bones, man, it's a film that finds its own way to the sea, and it's organically written. And when you have an opportunity to explore a character in such an in-depth way, it's rare, because most of the time, by a certain page, there's something required to happen in the formula world, so as much as the usual things that are supposed to happen in a Western happen here, the other great thing about the female characters too is that it's not like a Western where they've taken the female and now she's a gunslinger, or now she's she used to be a lady of the night, but now she's done this or whatever. These are women who, out of necessity, have had to become the heroes of their own life, of their own story, and I think that's what's unexpected about it, is that you see, you have to find your way through it. You have to find the heroes in here, and they all have to prove themselves. Even Calhoun in the end, when he has to prove that he's not all that bad after all,
Yeah.
and he really has to to come through. And I found that moment I found the greatest humanity in playing Calhoun in one particular scene, when Hester's stuck inside the house and her mom's out in the smokehouse, and they're separated, and she's panicking because the bad guys are on us, and we know somebody's sneaking up by the windows, and Calhoun gently gets her to get behind him, and he's there protecting her. And it was in that moment that I realized, this guy, if he had a different, if some part of his path had changed during his life growing up, he wouldn't have been this guy. It was wonderful to see those kind of layers to the characters. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, Calhoun and Hester's relationship is so fun just because they have such an unexpected friendship. And especially, when you're isolated in a ranch in the middle of nowhere for so long, when you have a newcomer, it's like, oh my gosh, great, this is my new best friend. And Calhoun's kind of like, what? This is not what this is. We're not best friends. And so that adds a really cool element.
Yeah, and you can see how much he cares for her. He has this line even earlier on where he says, "This is no place for a girl like this." You gotta let her go see the world and go into school and have friends, and it's just not right. And the fact is, this guy lives a life of being a bank robber, even having this moment, realizing, that this girl should have a better life than this. So yeah, I agree. And I feel like Calhoun becomes an audience favorite, where they really start to love this guy. And it all comes together in that ending, where you feel the reaction, you hear the reaction when you're in a theater with the audience again, which is just such an amazing experience. I'll tell you also, for us sitting by the monitors, we had to really try not to laugh so hard, especially in this moment after, and this is again in the trailer, so I'm not going to give it away, is when he gets his leg chopped off. And then is screaming and yelling, and I don't know how many ad libs Corin came up with, probably 150. but Brielle and Heather are outside continuing the action, doing the scene, and he's back there screaming and yelling all this stuff, and it was so funny. And we were having a hard time, holding the laughter in, and we couldn't. I was worried it was going to ruin some of the dialogue because we were laughing our butts off, and then to watch it in front of an audience. And the theater was in hysterics, by the way, Corin, when we watched this with a packed house.
Oh, nice.
So it was just really funny. So all the comedy played well, I got to tell you. And if you don't have that in this kind of a movie where it's so claustrophobic and you've got this guy stuck on a bed and you've got these people in this little house, if you don't have those moments and that connection between the cast, you're dead. This movie only works because of the chemistry between these actors and their ability to pull out those moments, of laughs. Because you can't just always be tense. You can't always just be so dramatic. Yeah. And Corin really brought a lot of humor to it.
I mean, Corin's
Yeah, I think,
ad.
yeah, I think,
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Corin's ad libs deserve a huge shout out. Like there were so many scenes where I'm playing off of him where there was genuine laughter coming from me, which was not even Hester. Like there was one scene where he has this monologue and he says, he can find a mouse in a wheat field. And he just comes up with that in the moment on set. And I was like, wow, this is a real pro. And then another scene where he's teaching Hester how to use a gun. He's like, oh, this is useless, but you could use it for a paddle. And I'm like, you could use that for a paddle. Like it was just hilarious. And a lot of the reactions they have are just in the moment reacting to Corin because he's a hilarious guy.
Corin Audrey made a point that, in the movie, her character says, would you shut up? Could you just stop talking? But she's like, but Corin never shuts up and never stops talking. So it was like a real moment for her.
It's Calhoun, man. It's Calhoun.
Exactly.
It was like being possessed by a demon from another dimension. Once I put that character on, I couldn't take it off.
So I did want to share our T-shirt that we have in the Avenue shop that is inspired by Calhoun. You are a pitiful excuse for a man. It's available at the store for anyone who wants to buy it.
Love it.
So little shout out to that T-shirt. So that's all I'm going to say on that.
That's great.
You inspire a lot of things, Corin. I think you all did an amazing job with the film and David producing it and everything else. So shout out to you all on that. I think that wraps up everything unless you guys want to keep talking. I'm happy to keep going. But
I got some company in from out of town actually, which was wonderful for last night's little screening party I had, which again, by the way, even with a small house full of people at the revelatory moment that we've all been leaning towards here in the conversation, it was the same thing. Once we hit that point, there was audible, physical reactions. There was, it was wonderful to see. So I hope that everybody out there, enjoys it, watch it twice, share it with your friends. Follow everybody that's involved, and especially give it lots of thumbs ups and stars and ratings, and if you don't have a lot of time, you can leave a short "this movie's so rad." That's all you need to put.
And like Corin said, guys, the movie is available on all streaming platforms, digital retail platforms like Amazon, Apple TV, Google Play, YouTube TV, and Microsoft Store. So it's available. Go buy it. Go watch it on repeat. And we appreciate you supporting us on this live. Thank you all for coming and joining us. The Avenue really appreciates it. And we love having you part of the Avenue family.
Thanks, everyone.
Excellent.